Welcome to the Elevating Leaders series, where we go beyond the headlines and straight to the people who are redefining insurtech and business transformation. We've caught up with the visionaries and the pioneers that are currently driving the industry forward, bringing you exclusive insights, strategies, and stories you won't hear anywhere else. If you're ready to go deeper, this is your front row seat to the future of insurance. I'm Miguel Edwards, and this is 5 Minutes.
You're thinking about organizational behavior, and then to the extent that we use these models to arrive at decisions, how's your organization thinking about the kind of the transparency and the explainability?
The EDs of the AI.
Yeah.
There's explainability, auditability, traceability, observability. Yeah. All of those have a different facet. Explainability is interesting because if you think about AI by nature, ML models in nature, they're not explainable. So you have to build them specifically for them. But language models, in my opinion, have made them a little easier. So you can ask it to reason about why it answered it a certain way.
Yeah.
Explainability comes from a few different layers. The most simplest form of explainability comes from being transparent about what did you use to come up with this response. Right. If you the way that I tell my team is, if you want to give it the whole world and ask it to reason about something, that's a whole corpus of data. It's not going to be, it might give you something, but it's not going to be consistently good. You want to figure out the right amount of data that it needs to reason through to come up with the answer. So if you can be transparent about what data that the language model is using to reason, that's one simplest way of explaining why it did something. Because if I tell you, here's what the language model said, and here's the data it used it, you could reason through why it said that. Right? Like that's, from a user perspective, it's pretty clear. And the other type is like reasoning through why, right? Like, so if you're making a recommendation, don't just make a recommendation, reason through why you're making that recommendation. Even on a ChatGPT level, it works really well. But if you think
you're going to have to tell me about how to do that, because I'm telling you, this is no lie. I got into a full-on argument with ChatGPT because it was being very respectful back to me, of course. But I asked it a question. It gave me an answer that was very different than the question I asked it. And then I said, why did you give me this response? Because I wanted to understand what was, I thought there was something wrong with my prompt. And then it says, I'm sorry. I thought you blah, 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 blah. I will do better next time. I was like, no, I don't want you to apologize. I want you to tell me why it is that you made this call. And I couldn't have a reasonable conversation with it.
Yeah, like I'm a productivity nerd. So I try to think about how I can not do the work that I do a lot. So every time I come up with, I've trained an assistant for different parts of my workday, like where I use it pretty widely. And I always ask it to explain, what did you use to make this decision for me?
Interesting.
Right. Explain your logical reasoning step by step and show it to me. Right. Like, so it's in the initial prompt, I always say, think through logically step by step. How do you come up with that step?
Okay, so it's still in the prompting.
Yes, it's still very prompt engineering.
Yeah.
But what they said in the latest OpenAI O1 is that you don't have to do that. It already does that.
Fascinating.
So I'm curious how that's going to change. I haven't started playing around with O1 quite a lot because it's still in its very early stages. So you kind of have to figure out how you work with multiple models at the same time. But it's,
As you think about the kind of the progression of AI, kind of what's next, and let's tie that specifically into your work and your product in the industry. Where is it going? What's in your crystal ball?
AI coworkers are going to become a part of our daily life. It's already happening. I mean, 30-40% of my work is AI involved in it. Like some AI helping me do my work.
Sure.
I think it's going to go all the way to 50-60% in the next couple of years.
Okay.
I think the way that it's changed, right? Like since it came to now, like last ITC to this ITC, it feels like last ITC I developed like this bot and I was showing it to people, like saying like, is this interesting? Would you buy it? Kind of like that.
Yeah.
They all gave me great feedback. That's why I decided to start the company. But there was a lot of hesitation. It's like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
like it's great, it's fun, but I don't. But this year they're a lot more bullish about it. They are all convinced. Like I feel like the whole industry is convinced that AI is coming and we're going for it. It's just a matter of when and how much. Right. So if you think about from a insurance industry perspective, operations is probably the biggest impact in the next 3-4 years. And timing exactly when that's going to be is hard, but I feel like operations is absolutely the right way to approach it too, because that's like the neural network of your organization. You kind of have to figure that out.
Thank you for joining this episode of 5 Minutes. If you've enjoyed our discussion, we'd love for you to share it with anyone else you think might find it interesting. Also, please subscribe on whatever podcast platform you're listening on and hit that bell to stay on top of the game with our practical 5-minute episodes. We look forward to seeing you again next week.